Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's mother-in-law coughs in his Cheetos on purpose. Am I the jerk for getting mad after my wife's mom coughed into my Cheetos and said she was helping us? My mother-in-law is what you'd probably call a textbook Karen. She spends most of her time browsing overpriced boutiques, leaving one-star reviews for places that didn't treat her like royalty, and making vague complaints on Facebook that are obviously about us. I usually just roll my eyes and keep my distance when she starts acting ridiculous, but this time it was different. So she was over at our place the other day, uninvited as usual, and I walked into the kitchen to grab a snack. I stopped dead when I saw her standing there with our open bag of Cheetos, coughing into it. Not like a little accidental cough either. She held the bag open, leaned in, and gave a few deliberate hacks right into it, like she was trying to season them with whatever germs she had. I was like, "What are you doing?" She looked at me totally unfazed and said, "You need to calm down. I'm doing you guys a favor. A few germs never hurt anyone." I was stunned. She said it so casually, like she didn't just spit all over our food. Normally, I try to keep my cool with her, but I was fuming. I went to go get my wife, thinking she'd back me up and tell her mom to knock it off. But nope, my wife just brushed it off and told me to calm down too. Said it wasn't that big of a deal and that I was overreacting. I told her, "How is this not a big deal? There's zero reason for her to be doing that. It's disgusting." Then her mom goes off about how we're all too germ-phobic and she's helping build our immune systems. She even said the reason our son is always getting sick is because we keep him in a bubble and are afraid of germs. Like, what? I told her flat out, "Don't ever do that again. If you do, you're not welcome here anymore." She just laughed in my face. Then she looks at me and says, "This is my daughter's house. If anyone's leaving, it'll be you." And my wife? She just stood there, smiling, and gave me this half-hearted shrug like she didn't care either way. So I left. I packed a bag and went to my brother's house because I needed to cool down. I told him everything, and he said that I didn't overreact at all. Then he added something that kind of stuck with me. He said I never stand up to my wife or her mom, so of course they think it's fine to treat me like this. His wife chimed in and said that some people will treat you however you let them, and if you're not getting love or respect where you're at, maybe it's time to go. I don't want to blow things up or threaten divorce over a bag of Cheetos, but it feels like this is about more than just that. I'm starting to think that if this is how things are going to be, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing it. Am I the jerk for getting so upset about this? Not the jerk. Your mother-in-law straight up weaponizing a bag of Cheetos and your wife acting like that's totally normal? Nah, that's not just gross. It's a complete lack of respect. This isn't just about germs, but also boundaries, and it sounds like nobody in that house takes yours seriously. You didn't overreact. You just finally reacted. And honestly, it's about time. Not the jerk at all. Your wife and her mom completely dismissing you like your opinion doesn't matter in your own home is not okay. That whole boosting immunity excuse is ridiculous and honestly kind of insulting. Even if she truly believed that, coughing into someone's food without asking is just nasty. You set a boundary and got laughed at. That's not a small thing. Karen strikes again, this time as the coughing crusader, defender of natural immunity, and destroyer of snack bags everywhere. "Oh, come on. She was just giving his Cheetos a homemade immune boost. He should be thanking her." Karen, the only thing she boosted was the divorce rate. And his wife giggling while she disrespected him in his own kitchen? That's just sad. Tragic, really. Your partner's supposed to have your back, not laugh when someone treats you like dirt. But can we get some F's in the comments for those poor little Cheetos? They didn't deserve that. F's in the chat for OP's marriage, too. His wife didn't fall far from the tree, and it sounds like the pestilence has already infected her. My fiancé's ex-wife has cancer. He's moved in with her and postponed our wedding. Ouch. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I don't even know how to make sense of what's happening. Max, not his real name, and I have been together for 2 years, engaged for 9 months. We were supposed to get married in January. It was going to be simple but beautiful. A small ceremony, a honeymoon we could actually afford, and then we'd start saving for a house. I thought we were happy. We didn't fight, we communicated, and I really believed he was the kind of man who would never lie to me. He married his ex-wife, Caroline, right after college. They were high school sweethearts who jumped into marriage too young. He told me they split on good terms because life had hit them harder than they expected. Rent, bills, work stress. They drifted apart, and when they divorced, he stayed here while she moved across the country to model. I never had a problem with her. She was just a name in an old story. That changed 3 months ago when she reached out to him on Facebook. She said she was back in town for medical reasons and wanted to catch up. He met her for coffee. When he came home, he looked pale. He told me Caroline had stage 4 breast cancer. She didn't have much family left, and she wanted him to be there for her. She said he was the closest thing to family that she had. I didn't even know what to say. I felt awful for her. I told him I understood and that if she needed support, of course he could be there. The next day, she came over. She was warm, funny, polite. I could see the pain in her face, and it made me feel ashamed for even feeling a flicker of jealousy. Then her surgery came up. Max flew to the West Coast to stay near her for a couple of weeks. He worked remotely, so it wasn't a problem. We talked every night over Skype. I kept telling myself this was temporary, that it was the right thing to do. When he got back, he told me her surgery didn't go as well as planned and that she'd be starting chemo soon. Then he said something I didn't expect. He told me he was going to move in with her. Just until the end of her treatment, he said. Maybe January or February. He couldn't afford to keep flying back and forth, and she needed someone there all the time. For a moment, I didn't even react. It didn't register that he was serious until he started talking about logistics. He said she had no one else, no family, no close friends. He said it wouldn't be right to leave her alone through chemo. And then, in the same calm tone, he said we should postpone the wedding. I remember sitting there on the couch, staring at him. My fiancé, the man I was supposed to build a life with, was telling me that he was moving in with his ex-wife indefinitely. He tried to soften it by saying it was purely platonic, that he'd sleep on the couch, that we could still Skype. He told me we had our whole lives to be together and she might only have 1 year. I didn't know how to argue with that. How do you look someone in the eye and say, don't take care of the person dying of cancer? I hated how selfish it would sound, so I said yes. That was 2 months ago. He's been living with her ever since. We talk maybe twice a week now. Every time I ask when he's coming home, he tells me he doesn't want to leave her so close to the end. He says I should understand. And I try, I really do. But every night when I'm alone in our apartment, staring at a half-empty closet and a ring that feels heavier than it should, I feel something twisting in my chest. It's not just sadness, it's anger. I resent Caroline for leaning on him so completely when she must know it's not fair. I resent Max for agreeing to this, and I hate myself for resenting either of them. I know she's sick, I know she's scared, but she's also his ex-wife and he's my fiancé. And somehow, I'm the one sitting alone waiting for a wedding that might never happen. Am I wrong to feel this way? Am I just being heartless? Because right now, I don't know where the line is anymore. You're not wrong to feel resentful. He picked his ex-wife over you. Whatever the reason, he's made it clear who comes first right now, and that's not something you can ignore. Compassion is good, but boundaries exist for a reason. This arrangement isn't noble, it's inappropriate. He should be visiting, not living with her, and you shouldn't have to wait for him like a placeholder while he plays house with someone else. You need to ask yourself something. When he finally comes back, are you still going to see him the same way? Because it's one thing to support someone who's sick. It's another to watch your fiancé live with his ex for months while you wait alone, and then have him expect you to be waiting with open arms. Update. I finally spoke to him. I told him I wanted him to come home, that I respected what he was doing, but that it was time to find a different way to help her. I suggested he visit every few weeks, or that we cover her flights so she could stay in our spare room while she recovered. He just sat there, staring at me through the screen. Then he said, "She needs me here." I told him I needed him too. That's when he finally said it. The truth. Caroline wasn't stage 4, she was stage 2. He admitted it like it was no big deal, said everything else was true. The surgery, the chemo, all of it. but she wasn't dying. He had lied because he didn't think I'd let him go otherwise. He wanted to be with her and needed me to believe it was life or death. He told her I was fine with it, that we had postponed the wedding to next August, that I supported him being there. She had no idea how much he had lied. I didn't even know what to say. I just sat there listening to him talk about her treatment and how he couldn't leave her now. The realization hit me like a slow, heavy wave. He hadn't gone to take care of her. He had gone there to be with her. He swore he wasn't in love with her, but how could I believe that? He lied to both of us. He built this entire story to justify running back to her. When I told him it was over, he didn't fight me. He just said, "That's probably for the best." The only thing he asked for was the ring back. I agreed. I told him I'd mail it to her address. I don't know why, but that made him pause for the first time. Maybe it scared him that she might read my note. Maybe he realized that she'd finally know what he had done. He had already checked out of our relationship long before I said goodbye. I wish I could say I was angry when I hung up, but mostly I just felt empty. He lied to me about everything and I still pitied him. Maybe that's what love looks like at the end. Pity for the person who broke you. I packed my things that night and started looking for a new apartment. I'll be fine eventually. What a coward. He didn't just betray you. He lied to a woman going through cancer just to make himself feel like the hero. You handled this with more grace than he deserves. Send the ring back if it gives you closure, but don't bother explaining. He's the kind of man who would twist it into another lie. Focus on getting out clean. I hope Caroline finds out the truth. She deserves to know the man she let back into her life built his sympathy on a lie. So he faked stage 4 cancer just to run back to his ex? That's not romance. That's a Lifetime movie written by a liar. He wanted to be a hero so bad, he turned himself into the villain instead. Imagine lying to 2 women at once and still thinking you're the good guy. Yeah, he didn't postpone the wedding. He just upgraded his audacity. My husband's sabbatical has become pathetic, and I want to end it right now. We're both in our early 30s, married for a few years, no kids yet. We bought our house together and split everything 50-50. Life wasn't perfect, but it was stable. Until last year. My husband worked at the same company for nearly a decade. He made good money and was proud of what he did. But the last few years had been rough. His boss was overbearing and he had been talking about quitting on and off. I always said the same thing. It's fine to leave, but line something else up first. Then one afternoon, he called to say that he had quit. Just like that. No backup plan, no warning. He said something about the last straw and that he couldn't take it anymore. He assured me he had savings and wanted to take a short sabbatical to figure out his next step. He said he had been meaning to work on a few business ideas and maybe start something of his own. I wanted to be supportive. I told him to take a few months to rest and reset. He had earned that much after years of stress. That was 8 months ago. He hasn't sent out a single job application. He hasn't updated his resume. Instead, he's been drinking more than ever, saying it helps him think. He's gone from tinkering with half-baked business ideas to spending hours on his phone, convinced he can be an online influencer. He's posted motivational quotes and pictures of our dog with captions about living free or whatever. None of it's taken off. To be fair, he's done a few home projects and helped fix up some things, but mostly he just drinks, complains, and scrolls through his phone. Our bills, once evenly split, are now 80-20, with me covering the 80. When I tried to talk about it, he laughed and said I could always divorce him and pay alimony if I didn't like the arrangement. Then, as soon as I pushed back, he started crying and said he might be depressed. Of course, that stopped me cold. I offered to help, told him we could get him to a doctor, but he waved me off. He said he doesn't believe in antidepressants and would figure it out himself. At this point, I don't even know what's real anymore. Whether he's truly struggling or just hiding behind the word depression to avoid responsibility. I've grown resentful of him and the whole situation. What would you do in my shoes? If he really thinks he's depressed, he needs to see a doctor. Depression isn't something you can drink through or talk away. You've been supportive long enough. If he refuses to get help, He's choosing to stay stuck, and that's not on you. You're not wrong for feeling resentful. You didn't sign up to carry both of you while he tries to become an Instagram influencer. It's one thing to rest for a month or two. 8 months of no progress and drinking every day isn't recovery. It's avoidance. Update. I finally confronted him. I told him we needed to talk seriously about where things were heading, both financially and emotionally. I said he either needed to make a doctor's appointment, stop drinking, or both. He refused. He got defensive, even hostile, which isn't like him at all. I asked how much savings he had left, and he said enough. When I pressed for a number, he refused to tell me. When I asked if he had any credit card debt, he said no, but wouldn't show me proof. That's when I said it. Starting March, he needs to start paying half the bills again. He just stared at me, didn't speak. Tears welled up in his eyes, but he said nothing. After that, he stopped sleeping in our bed. He's been in the basement ever since. I come home from work and I barely see him. He hides downstairs, drinks, and scrolls. We've gone from a marriage to a silent house divided by a staircase. I told myself I'd give it a little time, but truthfully, I'm done. I'm tired of feeling like his mother instead of his wife. He's ashamed, and instead of fixing it, he's wallowing. You can't rescue someone who refuses to stand up. At this point, it's self-inflicted. If he won't stop drinking or seek help, then he's made his choice. All you can do now is protect your finances and your sanity. You've been patient long enough. How long has this marriage been going on? You sound used to splitting everything 50-50, but that's not always how life works. I'm not saying you should tolerate this, but your husband clearly needs help. From how you've described it, your talk probably felt like an attack to him. Not because it was, but because he already knows you're right and he feels like a failure. Marriage isn't always perfectly balanced. Sometimes it's 49-51. Sometimes it's 80-20. The real question is whether he's contributing in other ways, cooking, cleaning, handling errands, or if you're carrying everything alone. If it's the latter, then yes, he's taking advantage of you. Only you know how much more of this you can take. Update. It's been another 2 months and things haven't improved. If anything, they've gotten worse. He's still in the basement, he barely speaks to me. We haven't been intimate in months. It's like we're roommates. I've stopped cooking him meals, so he now subsists on instant noodles he bought off Amazon. When March came around, I asked for his half of the bills. He sent me 2/3 of what he owed and then blew up when I asked for the rest. He just kept repeating, "Leave me alone," louder and louder until I stopped talking. Then came the usual routine of him saying he's depressed, using it like a shield. But he still hasn't seen a doctor. He hasn't even stepped outside in weeks. I finally told him, clear as day, either see a doctor and start fixing your life, or this marriage is over. He smirked and made another alimony joke. That was the last straw. I met with a divorce lawyer this week. The lawyer was kind but firm. He said my husband wouldn't be entitled to alimony. He quit voluntarily. No doctor has said that he can't work. He's just been drinking and doing nothing. I'm still holding on to a sliver of hope that he'll change. But if he doesn't, I'm filing next month. Your ultimatum was right. He's made it clear he won't help himself. You've done everything that a partner can do, and now it's time to protect yourself. Sometimes the only thing that shocks people into changing is losing what they take for granted. You can love him and still walk away. Update. It's been several months since my last post, and everything has changed. We're officially separated now, with plans to divorce within 1 year. After that last update, I finally convinced him to see a doctor. The doctor suggested therapy and antidepressants, but he refused both. He said therapy was a waste of money and that antidepressants could warp his brain. I remember sitting there, realizing that nothing was going to change unless he actually wanted it to. For a brief moment, it seemed like things might get better. We had one good week in April. We cooked dinner together, watched a movie, even slept in the same bed. For that short stretch of time, I let myself believe we had found our way back. Then we argued about something small. I don't even remember what it was, and it all fell apart again. One evening after work, I sat in my car for hours, unable to walk inside. The idea of pretending everything was okay made me feel sick. That's when I knew I was done. I told him later that week. He cried, but he didn't ask me to stay. That silence said everything. He moved in with his parents soon after. I stayed in the house, trying to rebuild my life piece by piece. The quiet felt heavy at first, but over time it turned peaceful. I still pray for him, but I finally accepted that I can't save him. A mutual friend told me he's drinking less now, and that gave me some comfort. He hasn't reached out to me, and I haven't reached out to him. Maybe that's for the best. I've started seeing friends again, picking up old hobbies, and remembering what it feels like to laugh without tension in my chest. It still hurts sometimes, but it's a clean kind of hurt. The kind that comes when you finally stop fighting for what's already over. Maybe someday he'll find the help that he needs, but I've learned that it's not my job anymore. It's sad, but you did the right thing. You tried everything, supporting him, setting boundaries, giving him time, and even helping him find professional help. There's only so much one person can do before the other has to start showing up for themselves. It's not easy walking away from someone you love, but sometimes love means knowing when to stop caring for what isn't yours to fix. He made his choices, and now he's living with the results. You did your part, and you deserve the peace that comes with letting go. This ending hurts, but it's the right one. You can't rebuild someone who refuses to pick up a single brick. You gave everything you could, and when that wasn't enough, you still chose dignity over despair. That takes real strength. Be proud of yourself for drawing the line and for protecting your sanity. You didn't fail him. He failed himself by turning down every chance you gave him. Healing will take time, but you're already on your way. So the husband turned his sabbatical into a full-time pity party. Yeah, he clocked out of work and marriage at the same time. She didn't walk away because she stopped caring. She walked away because he did first. Exactly. You can't save someone who keeps pulling the plug on their own lifeline. My mother-in-law tried to outshine me at my own wedding, but my bridesmaids had a different idea. I didn't expect my wedding day to come with a boss battle, but apparently every love story needs a villain. Mine just happened to be my mother-in-law. I, 28 female, married my husband, Mark, who's 30, last month. It really was the best day of our lives, but getting there took nerves, caffeine, and the patience of a saint. From the moment the ring hit my finger, his mom decided this wedding was her personal project. At first, it seemed harmless. She offered to help with planning. I thought that meant she'd give some suggestions and maybe handle a few errands. Nope. Within a week, she was calling vendors, messaging the caterer, and posting on Facebook about her son's big day. Not our wedding, but her son's big day, as if I was just a guest of honor. It became a pattern. I said I wanted sage green and gold because it felt elegant and warm. She said royal blue and silver pop more in photos. I chose an indie band Mark and I both loved. She insisted we needed a string quartet because it makes the ceremony feel like a fairy tale. I told her I wanted to keep the ceremony short and simple, but she insisted on turning it into a grand production, saying anything less would make Mark look cheap. And she said that last part while smiling directly at me. And the worst part? She'd go behind my back to try to get her way. One day, our florist called to confirm a change to the color palette. I hadn't made any changes. Guess who had called pretending to be me? By that point, even Mark had started running out of excuses for her. He'd say things like, she just wants to feel included, or it's her way of showing that she cares. Yeah, sure. Some people send cards. My mother-in-law sends chaos. I tried to set boundaries, nicely at first. I told her we appreciated her input, but that Mark and I already had a vision. She nodded, smiled, and said, "Of course, dear." The next day, she sent me a spreadsheet of suggested improvements. And then came the wedding day. The morning started off perfectly. The weather was clear, my bridesmaids were cheerful, and for the first time in months, I felt calm. Then she arrived. I was in the middle of getting my hair done when I heard one of my bridesmaids say, "Oh no." I turned around and there she was, my mother-in-law, walking into the venue in a floor-length, cream-colored gown covered in sequins. Not full white, but close enough that it made everyone pause. The sparkle hit the sunlight like a disco ball of her audacity. People were whispering. The photographer even froze mid-shot. I just sat there speechless, trying to figure out if this was real life. Luckily, my maid of honor didn't hesitate. She put down her pastry she was holding and stood up. She told her, "Nope, not today." Then she turned to the other bridesmaids like a commander in a war movie. They didn't need instructions. They knew exactly what to do. Within minutes, they formed a small but terrifying squad and intercepted her at the door. They didn't yell. They didn't make a scene. They just smiled, that tight, polite smile that women use when they're about to end someone's nonsense. Kinda like that smile she would give me. One of them calmly explained that the color of her dress was inappropriate and that it needed to be changed immediately. Mother-in-law tried to argue. "It's not white, it's cream." My maid of honor shot back that calling it cream didn't make it better. It was still the wedding equivalent of showing up to a wine tasting with milk. She offered her two options. One, change into the backup dress they had brought just in case she tried something like this, or two, leave. Yes, my bridesmaids had anticipated this. They had bought a simple blush dress in her size for emergencies. That's when mother-in-law started crying. The loud, attention-grabbing kind of crying. She called Mark, saying my friends were ganging up on her and ruining her day. He told her calmly to just change so we could move on. After about 10 minutes of dramatic sighs and muttered comments about being disrespected, she changed into the backup dress. My bridesmaids returned to the bridal suite like heroes. I swear, they should have walked back in to Eye of the Tiger. When I saw them walk in, I nearly cried from relief. The rest of the morning went smoothly after that, though mother-in-law gave me a few frosty looks during the photos. But she wasn't done. During the reception, right after my dad finished his toast, mother-in-law grabbed the microphone. No warning, no cue, just stood up and started talking. What followed was a 10-minute speech titled, "Raising the Man Who Made This Day Possible." It was a full monologue. She talked about how Mark was her pride and joy, how she's not losing a son, and that she'll always be his first priority. Spoiler alert, she's not. Guests were exchanging looks. My aunt leaned over and whispered, "Is this her normal?" I just smiled tightly. Mark and I shared a quick glance that said everything. Yep, that tracks. After her speech, she just sat down looking proud of herself, completely oblivious to how uncomfortable she'd made everyone feel. But despite that chaos, the rest of the night was amazing. Our friends danced, laughed, and made it clear that the only person who didn't get the memo about boundaries was her. Now, weeks later, she's acting like none of it happened. She's been texting me asking to approve which wedding photos we post online. She even wants to choose which one she looks the most radiant in. At this point, I'm tempted to print her sparkle dress photo on thank you cards just to remind her who she's dealing with. I don't want to hold a grudge, but I do want to set boundaries that stick this time. So if anyone out there has advice for dealing with a mother-in-law who thinks every milestone is her spotlight, I'm all ears. Your husband should run point on all mother-in-law's nonsense and back you up every time. The good news is he did tell her to change, which means the team alignment is there. Keep it that way post-wedding. He screens her opinions. He shuts down her anti-you speeches. And any boundary talk comes from him first, you second. That's how this stays tenable. Sounds like the bridesmaids in this story had more gumption than most families I've seen. No yelling, no scene, just calm execution and a backup plan ready to go. Honestly, that's the model. No accidental red wine required. No embarrassing Facebook Live meltdown. Keep that squad close for future events, because that sparkle dress energy of your mother-in-law tends to return at baby showers, birthdays, etc. When it comes to mother-in-laws like this, some mellow out with age, others just find sneakier ways to stay in control. She might be nicer now because she knows access to her son runs through you. Be polite, but keep your guard up. Clear boundaries, shared decisions, and real consequences. In 20 years, she can be Queen Bee at Shady Pines. For now, she's just a guest who needs to respect the dress code. Showing up to a wedding in cream sequins? That's not confidence. That's sparkle-fueled sabotage. Those bridesmaids handled her like seasoned bouncers at a nightclub. Mother-in-law really tried to headline someone else's event. She didn't steal the spotlight. She just confirmed why it needed security. My girlfriend has given up on her career after I became a millionaire. How do I tell her this won't work out? I met my girlfriend, Kylie, in community college 7 years ago. We became really close friends and started dating 2 years later. At that time, she was determined to become a nurse, which I fully supported because of her passion for it. I eventually transferred to a 4-year university and I earned my MBA. Kylie provided unwavering emotional support throughout my school journey, for which I am truly grateful. However, Kylie's parents eventually cut her off financially due to her spending habits, which led her to take a year off to work and help manage her bills. During this time, I invested all my savings, time, and energy into a startup platform with my best friend in the automotive industry. Earlier this year, we were bought out for a life-changing amount of money. As part of the deal, we both remained on as consultants with high-paying salaries. Meanwhile, Kylie continued her job at the jewelry store. After the buyout, she decided to hand in her 2 weeks' notice at her job. I offered to pay for her schooling and living expenses, and initially, she was excited about going back to earn her nursing degree. I even purchased a condo for us to live in, which was a significant step up from our previous apartment and conveniently located near her school. Over the weekend, during a conversation, she mentioned that she wasn't sure about returning to school and even suggested the idea of being a stay-at-home wife, even though we're not even married. I didn't respond immediately because I was unsure how to process it. Part of what initially attracted me to her was her ambition, and this sudden shift in her goals was concerning to me. Additionally, I've noticed her spending habits have increased since my financial change. She's been looking at new cars and making purchases that feel impulsive. I worry that I might be overreacting, but something about this new side of her feels off. I still love her and want our relationship to work, but I'm struggling with how her actions and attitudes have changed. Not sure what kind of advice you want here. It's pretty easy to tell her that you never wanted a stay-at-home spouse. You want a partner that's also contributing to the household and that you really valued her ambition towards having her own career and independence. You need to have a really frank discussion that as of right now, your assets are not shared wealth. OP. So here's another detail I left out. Her mom was a stay-at-home mom. Her dad is very well off, so I don't think she sees anything wrong with her decision. That's the family life she was raised in. When we first got together, she said she wanted to be the complete opposite of her mom. She wanted to be independent and have a career. In the future, if we end up having kids after getting married, I don't mind her being a stay-at-home mom, but for now, that's way too far down the line. I mean, generally there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home partner or spouse, but that has to be a mutual decision. Stay-at-home parent? Absolutely nothing wrong with that. 25-year-old stay-at-home boyfriend or girlfriend? No, there is very much something wrong there. Am I the jerk for being angry that my roommate was sleeping under my bed for months without telling me? I, 24 male, have been living with my roommate Carl, who's also 24, for about 2 years. A few months into rooming together, he told me he was pan. I said, all right, cool. I'm not particularly interested in people's personal information like that, nor am I judgmental about it. I thought we were done with the topic. Then last night, I had one of the scariest experiences of my life. It was around 3 a.m. when I heard a strange noise coming from under my bed. At first, I thought I was imagining things, but then I heard it again, a movement. My first thought was, oh no, is there a mouse or a rat under there? So feeling uneasy, I got out of bed and used my phone flashlight to look underneath. What I saw next shocked me to my core. There, under my bed, was my roommate Carl, staring wide-eyed back at me. He screeched the moment I looked at him. In that instant, I felt terror like never before. Like a physical jolt of fear. For a second, I genuinely thought that I might be having a heart attack. All I could hear after that was him saying, sorry, over and over. He crawled out from under the bed, crying and apologizing nonstop. I was so freaked out and terrified that I ran out of the apartment in my pajamas. I ended up at a 24-hour Dunkin' Donuts a few blocks away, trying to calm down with a decaf coffee and a breakfast sandwich, my heart still pounding. Meanwhile, Carl kept texting me asking to talk. I ignored every message, but then he sent something that horrified me even more. He confessed that he had been sleeping under my bed a few nights a week for 3 to 4 months. He claimed he was doing it to get closer to me. I waited until I knew he had gone to work, ran back to the apartment, grabbed my essentials, and left. I'm currently crashing at a friend's place. Our lease is up in a month, and I fully intend not to renew. Since then, Carl has been blowing up my phone, and now I'm even getting texts from mutual friends. Some of my friends, as well as a few of his, are saying that I shamed him and I'm rejecting his apologies. While most people agree he was way out of line, some think I should give him a second chance because he's sensitive. Honestly, I feel like I'm losing my mind. Part of me is 20% convinced I'm stuck in a long, lucid nightmare, Or maybe I'm in a coma somewhere, and all of this is just some insane dream. So, am I the jerk here, or is everyone around me just completely nuts? Yes, you did shame him. Yes, you rejected his apologies. Why? Because he crossed so many boundaries of common decency, privacy, and basic human respect. Whatever trust you had in Carl has been broken, shattered into 1,000 pieces, not the jerk. My boss said, just follow the script, so I did, all the way to $1 million client meltdown. I work in customer support for a company that provides specialized software to major players in the healthcare industry. Our clients aren't your average users, they're hospitals, clinics, and medical centers where downtime can have serious consequences. I've been with the company for 5 years and I know our software inside out, so I'm often able to troubleshoot unusual problems and get things back on track without a hassle. A few months ago, though, a new supervisor named Alex joined us. He was fresh from a corporate management program and came in with grand ideas about efficiency and productivity. In his mind, the solution to our slow response time was simple: a script-only policy. According to him, every client interaction needed to be scripted to prevent wasting time on unnecessary advice. No more custom solutions, no additional steps, no thinking outside the box. If a client's issue wasn't in the script, we were to log it, escalate it, and have them wait for a callback. When Alex announced the new policy, I raised my hand, explaining that most clients call us precisely because they're dealing with specific, time-sensitive issues. Sticking rigidly to the script would just frustrate them and, in many cases, fail to solve their problems entirely. Alex didn't budge. "Everyone follows the script, no exceptions," he said, smiling in that overconfident way that made it clear he thought he was reinventing the wheel. "If even our biggest client calls, you follow the script." Cue a couple of weeks later. One morning, I pick up a call and I'm greeted by the CEO of one of our top clients, a massive healthcare network we've worked with for years. They hold a multi-million-dollar contract with us, and losing them would be catastrophic. The CEO is calling in a panic because their entire system is down. The glitch they're dealing with is blocking patient records and diagnostics, putting patients' care at risk. This isn't just a technical issue, it's affecting people's health. As soon as he describes the issue, I recognize the problem. It's a known bug with a straightforward 5-minute workaround, something I've handled a dozen times before. But here's the thing, the fix isn't in the script. I'm immediately torn. My instincts tell me to help him, to do my job and prevent a disaster. But Alex's strict orders echo in my head. "Follow the script, no exceptions." If I help, I risk my job. If I don't, I risk the client's contract and possibly lives. So I do exactly as Alex told me to do. I go through the script step by painful step. The CEO is losing patience fast. As I drone through basic troubleshooting steps he clearly doesn't need, he interrupts, asking why I'm wasting time. I explain the policy. I'm only allowed to offer solutions that are in our scripts. If this doesn't fix it, I can escalate the case and someone will call you back within 24 hours. He goes dead silent, then says, "Escalate it now." I log the issue as required, escalating it for a callback. Within an hour, word spreads that Alex has been summoned to an emergency meeting with our department head. Apparently, the CEO of our client had gotten in touch with our company's leadership directly and wasn't mincing words. He demanded an explanation for the sudden drop in our service quality and threatened to take his business elsewhere. Rumor has it, he even said, "If your idea of support is running through a script instead of fixing the problem, then we're done here." By the end of the day, we all received an email titled, "Script Policy Update." Effective immediately, we were now encouraged to use best judgment and to go off script as needed for high priority issues. Alex's entire efficiency plan was scrapped on the spot, and he's now under performance review. It's safe to say he's lost any respect from our team, and I'm not sure his reputation will ever recover after that blunder. In the days that followed, the story of the client meltdown spread like wildfire through our office, growing more exaggerated with each telling. Some people said the CEO threatened to sue. Others claimed he had hinted at buying out a competitor. Regardless of the details, Alex's name became a kind of cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when you put rigid policies above common sense. And as for me, well, I've been doing my job the way I always have, thinking on my feet, solving problems, and trusting my instincts. The difference now is, I have a little smirk every time I think about it. After all, I was just following orders. Am I the jerk for not being friendly with my partner's daughters now that they've warmed up to me? I, 42, am dating Tim, 59, a widower. He works in banking and I'm a bartender. I know how it looks, and his two daughters thought the same, assuming I was with him for money. But actually, Tim is broke as a joke, while I have a trust fund, so the reality is quite the opposite. Tim's financial situation is largely due to his late wife's battle with cancer, 3 rounds of it. He ran up 6 credit cards, took a second mortgage on their house, cashed out his retirement, and did everything possible to ensure she received the best treatment. Later, he helped her hang on long enough to see both their daughters get married. His daughters live a 6-hour drive away, and for the past 2 Christmases, we've driven out to see them. Both times, they ignored me, pulled Tim aside whenever he tried to include me, and prevented their husbands from even making small talk with me by interrupting every time I spoke. The first year, Tim chastised them and they apologized, but only to him. They blamed their behavior on the pain of seeing their dad with a woman who wasn't their mom. The second year, they did it again. This year, I told Tim I wouldn't go. He's welcome to go visit his daughters for Christmas. I would never ask him not to, but I'll stay here. Tim wasn't thrilled about the idea because he relies on me to share the driving when his back acts up and he hates to fly. Besides, his 2010 death trap of a car is on its last legs, so I leased him a comfortable luxury ride thanks to my brother who owns a dealership. Tim was excited about the car and called his daughters to share the news, especially since it means he could visit more often without worrying about his back. They completely lost it, accusing him of spending their mother's money on a BS house and a car to impress me, while as they claimed he never offered them a dime for their weddings. During the argument, it came out that they assumed there had been a life insurance policy. They had no idea about the credit card debt, the second mortgage, or that the house was underwater and close to foreclosure before Tim moved in with me. They didn't realize that it's my house, that Tim pays no bills, except for the water, he takes excessive showers, and that we share grocery costs. Now, the daughters want my phone number, saying they're sorry that I felt lonely during past Christmases. They also want to visit and stay with us next year, conveniently in the summer, as I happen to live near a beach. I told Tim that I absolutely don't want him giving out my number. I'll be polite if they come to visit him, but I'm not looking to be friends with them. If they had taken 2 seconds to speak to me, they would have known better than to assume I was with him for the money. Tim thinks I'm being too unforgiving. He believes his daughters would have warmed up to me eventually, and that knowing how generous I've been with him is what's finally bringing them around. But I honestly don't care whether they come around now or later. They had their chance to get to know me without jumping to conclusions, and now they choose to act like catty brats instead. Not the jerk. These are grown women, not angry kids, and you owe them nothing. Certainly not the money and favors they very obviously want. But also, I'm extremely concerned that your husband never set the record straight. This man spent 2 years watching his daughters treat you like a gold digger and never once told them off and told them the truth. You have bigger problems than horrible stepkids. Am I the jerk for abruptly cutting my ex-fiancé out of my life? I, 25 male, met my now ex-fiancé in my first year of college. We were both 18 and went from friends to lovers pretty quickly. We clicked so well and everything was so easy and effortless. We had a really good relationship. It was the kind of relationship that everyone dreams of, one that people idolized and would say, if those two break up, then love doesn't exist. You get the picture. For the purpose of this post, let's call my ex Ashley. Ashley was everything I was looking for in a woman. Funny, smart, attractive, down-to-earth, and family-oriented. She wanted to build a life together, and our families grew close over the course of our relationship. It was like we were already one big family even before getting married. As planned, I popped the question a year ago, not knowing this would change everything. She said yes, of course, but things began to change. Slowly but surely, over the months, she became more distant. I tried to ignore it, chalking it up to nerves. You know, cold feet before taking the big marriage plunge. But I should have trusted my instincts. She started going out with her friends more often on the weekends. I'd gone on these outings with her before. It was usually clubbing and drinking. It wasn't really my scene, but I trusted her, so I had no problem with her going without me. After I proposed, though, these outings became much more frequent. I had this nagging feeling that something was off, but I brushed it aside, convinced that my doubts were just wedding jitters. I should have listened to my gut. Then, last week, I got a text from one of her girlfriends. She said that she felt super guilty about what had been going on. According to her, Ashley had been having second thoughts about getting married. She felt that she hadn't had the chance to explore other options, and that the thought of being locked down for life was making her really anxious. Apparently, on these outings, Ashley would flirt with guys, dance with them, and even make out with them to get it out of her system. Since she wasn't hooking up with them, she didn't consider it cheating. But her friend told me that there was one night when she hooked up with a guy at the club. She even sent me pictures and videos from some of those nights. My heart sank. I thanked the friend for telling me and asked her to keep it between us. For me, any form of cheating is a hard no. I knew it was over. What made it worse was my history with cheating. Ashley knew about my high school ex who cheated on me and how I struggled to cope after that. This situation just made it cut even deeper. She knew how much it could hurt, yet she did it anyway. I wanted to crawl into bed and cry for a month. I wanted to be weak. I felt weak. But I decided to let myself mourn and break down only after I protected myself first. Ashley and I shared an apartment, which we split the rent on 50-50. I decided to take 2 days off work and covertly started moving my things to my brother's house across the city. He knew everything that had happened and immediately offered me a place to stay. The first day, I moved out my non-essential items. When Ashley got home from work, she noticed some things were missing, but I just told her I'd sold a few things and moved some others to storage to clear out space in the apartment. She didn't question it. I was furious on the inside, but I kept cool to avoid suspicion. She noticed I was a bit withdrawn, but I told her I was just tired and stressed from work. On the second day, while she was at work, my brother and his wife came over to help me pack up the rest. By 3 p.m., I was fully moved out. Since then, I've ignored every single text and call from her. I've completely cut her off and refused to talk to her or her family. I don't even want to confront her about what happened. She came home to an empty apartment, and since then, she's been texting all my friends and family, who in turn have texted me. I only responded to my parents, who fully support my decision. Her family and friends, though, have been blowing up my phone, calling me a jerk for leaving without a word. They've even been blasting me on social media. I don't really care. She knows what she did. To me, she's done. She doesn't exist anymore. Because of all the backlash, even my brother and his wife started questioning whether it was right of me to completely ignore everyone. It's made me doubt myself a bit, which is why I'm here. Am I the jerk? Update. I didn't want to make this public. Despite everything, part of me still cares about her. We were together for 6 years, and it's not something you just throw away overnight. I realized that the right thing to do was to talk to her parents. Only her family needed to know. Everyone else could think whatever they wanted about me. I didn't care. The people who truly know me are all that matter. I sent a detailed message to my closest friends and family explaining everything. They believed me right away. No pictures were needed. I didn't feel it was appropriate to spread these photos of her, so I didn't. With the people I cared about now understanding the situation, I moved on to talk to her parents. I reached out to her mom, who I'd gotten close to, and she considered me like a son. She was upset with me, but agreed to meet. I thought an in-person conversation would be better than dropping a bombshell email. I met her mom and dad at a diner we used to go to for breakfast. It was emotional. They were understandably upset that I cut them out without a word. I just sat quietly and listened while they got everything off their chests. I admit, I teared up a bit. But then they started accusing me. It turns out Ashley had told them I cheated on her and that she was the one who kicked me out. And because I wasn't responding to anyone, everyone believed I was too ashamed to show my face. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. I said I was sorry that they had been lied to and wished them a good life. Then I walked out. I was beyond angry. I couldn't believe her parents would believe her and throw me under the bus so quickly. I walked out because I knew I'd say things I regret if I stayed. I hadn't wanted to, but she left me no choice. I went nuclear. I went home, wrote an email titled, "For your reading pleasure," and attached every single picture her friend had sent me, along with screenshots of the chat with her friend, where she admitted to feeling guilty about Ashley's cheating. I attached the videos. I included a long explanation detailing everything that happened since D-Day, ending with a note saying I didn't want to be contacted and that I expected my ring back eventually. I sent it to her, her parents, every friend I could think of, and even a coworker. I didn't care. So that's where I'm at now. I might be the jerk for sending that email, but when she spread lies about me, she really tested my limits. I have zero regrets. Right now, I'm crashing at my brother's place on the pull-out couch. He's helping me through this as much as one can, I guess. Final update. The fallout from that email was catastrophic. My phone was blowing up with calls and texts from Ashley's friends and family, asking tons of questions. Before the email, everyone thought I was the cheater who had been kicked out, but the email cleared my name and essentially turned everyone against her. Rumors started circulating at her job. She couldn't handle the embarrassment and ended up quitting. Her parents refused to take her back in, and they reached out to apologize for jumping to conclusions. We're cool now, but they told me Ashley was struggling to make rent. As for our shared friends, most of them cut ties with her after realizing she'd manipulated them into hating me. Even some of her girlfriends who knew about her cheating stopped talking to her. Ironically, the friend who initially came forward to tell me everything is now my girlfriend. We started texting more after everything went down, and she became a big support for me. We connected over shared interests, life goals, and experiences. Things naturally evolved from there. She's amazing, kind, loving, and supportive. Some people might think it's just a rebound, but I'm genuinely happy with her. Since all of this happened, I haven't contacted Ashley, nor do I plan to. Friends tell me she's livid that I ghosted her without giving her closure. Honestly, if she thinks she deserves closure after everything, she's lost it. I've moved on, and I'm happier now than ever. Am I the jerk for telling my girlfriend I won't move in with her because her rent demands are unreasonable? My girlfriend and I have been together for a while. While I make good money, my girlfriend actually had a house she's making payments on. We discussed moving in together, and she doesn't feel entirely comfortable adding me to her mortgage, even though we do want to get married eventually. I said it's fine and I get it. This is her house and she's been dealing with it for years now. But obviously I don't want to be a kept man. I currently rent a place and it's relatively decent for the price. Anyway, we were making calculations and her demand on my rent for her is twice as much as what I pay for my own place. I told her that is absolutely ridiculous. She claims it's what her house would rent for in the market. Not inaccurate. But I told her that only works when the landlord is not at the house, and that at most, I'd be renting just one room. I could afford it if I don't save as much, but it would be too close for comfort. She says I'm just making excuses, and I told her I'm not going to be paying that much. She insists she really wants to live together, but she said that I need to pull my own weight. You're the jerk. You're not just renting one room, you're using the whole house. Are you not using the bathroom there, or kitchen, dining, living areas? A fair arrangement would be to pay slightly more than half the actual costs of expenses and upkeep, because technically, she would be paying taxes on the rent incoming. And no, you wouldn't be added to the mortgage. She's right here. Not the jerk. My girlfriend recently moved in with me in the home that I own. I never expected her to pay half my mortgage like these commenters are suggesting. We worked out a plan together where she helps with groceries and utilities, but I don't expect her to pay me rent like I'm her landlord. I'm her boyfriend, and I'm glad to have her staying here with me. Relationships have become too transactional. I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who saw me as a tenant. Am I the jerk for not providing any kind of extra support for my kids' other household? I have 2 kids who are 11 and 8 with my ex, and we share both physical and legal custody. I pay child support as I'm the higher earner. The amount is relatively low at $150 a month, intended to help balance resources between our homes. My ex remarried, and her household now includes her husband, his 3 kids, all who are under 10, and 2 kids they have together, both under 5. Financially, they struggle. Over the past 4 years, they've tried to increase my child support payment 5 times. Twice, we appeared in front of a judge, while the other 3 times the request was denied before reaching court. Each time, the judge emphasized that child support is intended only to support our 2 kids, not her entire household. Despite this, my ex and her husband argued that their financial strain justifies an increase, seeking a total of $800 per month, but this argument hasn't been successful. My ex has also repeatedly asked me for small amounts of extra money, like $50 here and there, or even to buy things for the other kids in her household, sometimes even when our kids are with me. I have consistently refused, explaining that I'm only responsible for my own kids' needs, not those of her other kids. This issue recently escalated after our daughter's birthday, which falls close to the birthday of her youngest step-sibling. Our daughter enjoyed celebrations and received gifts both at my house and at her mom's, plus I hosted a big party for her. Meanwhile, her step-sibling didn't have a party or receive many gifts due to financial constraints. My ex had asked me twice to send gifts for her stepkid, which I declined. She also wanted her other kids invited to the party, but my daughter didn't want them there, so I respected her wishes. This clearly upset my ex. Then, just days after the birthday, my ex informed me that her stepkids' school lunch accounts had gone negative. She knew I had topped up our kids' accounts, so she asked me to do the same for her stepkids, which I also refused. Following this, she called me a monster and asked how I could live with myself, knowing that my kids' other family is struggling so much. She pointed out that I could help them avoid drowning in financial difficulty, but I choose not to. In my view, I'm simply sticking to my responsibility towards my own kids. I contribute financially as required and provide for them while they're in my care. Helping to support her other kids who are not mine is not my responsibility. Am I the jerk? Is it possible to have the kids live with you? What she's doing sounds very manipulative. I truly hope this doesn't turn into a situation where it's making your kids feel bad or even make the stepkids resent your kids over time. As much as I am for helping any kid, You're in the right to not feel obligated to take care of someone else's kid. Not only that, she is sure acting entitled about the situation. I would save these messages and see what can be done to make things not just easier on you, but the kids as well. If you can, it sounds like they just need to live with you instead. I'm shocked that you don't have to pay more. My son pays $450 a week for 2 kids. His ex gets another $350 a week for a kid she had with another guy. She's now pregnant with number 4 with some new guy. She has never worked a day in her life. Every time she goes to court looking for more money, the judge gives it to her. Only had one judge ask her why she doesn't work, and she replied she has anxiety, so she can't work. Imagine your coworkers keep joking that you're pregnant even though you're not. Then they get the local radio station in on their little prank. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap, come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.